I like both. I like those who come,
Classic Maya Gilbert answer.
I like those who come close and actually want to engage and ask questions. And then I also like the silent millions watching and just absorbing all the information.
I like that. That reminds me, actually, for anyone watching, if you put questions in the chat, we do get to them sometimes during these. So yeah, my little team posts them on a thread for me, and sometimes I'll go look at it when I have time and answer things. So if you put them on, if you put good questions on there, if you put weird questions on there, it's like real 50-50. I might like, if it's my kind of weird, I might be like, I'm into this weird ass question. Somebody asked me something about threesomes last time. I was like, why not? But if it's like weird, mean, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it, just so you know. So don't be a troll, okay? Be fun. Okay, so I'm Aubrey. This is Maya, in case you don't know us. We're part of the Eros platform, which is an awesome website where we, stream all of this from and everything. And we have this podcast weekly to basically give the Eros-based or erotic perspective on whatever we want, really. I mean, sometimes we talk about like really intense, serious stuff, and sometimes we pretty much just show our favorite TikTok videos and just dive deep into the female erotic perspective of certain like trends and things and everything in between. Everything in between. I mean, I was recently obsessed with religion and how it relates with Eros, so I did a whole run on that topic. So so we have some things lined up for you guys today, some specific things, but we also might go in a variety of different directions. So we shall see. We're also working on theme music for this, but we didn't get that yet. But maybe next time, maybe next time. So definitely tune in next week if you want to hear a theme song. But okay, so I have a few different topics today. We're going into the world of AI today. That is a huge topic that's on literally everyone's mind. Everyone is having some kind of experience with AI at this point, whether it's, you know, an intimate experience or an intimate experience, or using it as a tool and being obsessed with how you can make it work for you, or being freaked out by it taking over the world, or like, does this mean, robots are going to take over the planet, and everything in between, right? So we're going to go into some AI conversation today, some kind of subtler AI conversation having to do with basically not being able to tell which videos are real and which videos are fake anymore. And then we're gonna do, maybe we do that one first, Maya. And then we're gonna do we have got some relational man woman woman content, not WLW so much as just woman friendship content, but WLW is cool too. Um but some woman friendship, women, like the difference between women friendships and how a woman may relate with her boyfriend and why she might be more forgiving with one than the other. And then we also have um, basically this thing that I just thought was hilarious about where Gen Z feels like they're reinventing meditation, which I just thought was really funny. I pretty much just picked that one for my own entertainment. But no, I actually like how things circle around in that way. And then there's a kind of a more controversial one that we talking about that we may or may not get to, that has to do with women's fantasies. So that's kind of what we've got on the docket today. Did I remember all of them? That's it. Those are our topics. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with AI today. So we're gonna start with this video.
You know, Bob, a lot of folks think being gangster means being mean or loud or hurting people. But it really just means standing up for who you are and for your neighbor.
I definitely like, I when I first saw that, I like on some level I was immediately like, oh, of course that's not real. But some part of my heart was like, finally, Like, I don't know how else to, it was like, on the one hand, I feel like AI is making it hard to tell what's real and what's not with that particular video necessarily. But on the other hand, it's like you finally get to see and hear certain things that just make sense play out. Go ahead, you play the other one.
Are you two completely insane? Are you two completely insane?
So that's an AI video. So I don't know if anybody knew that one. So there's there's a couple different conversations that we'll have with this one. So one is not being able to tell what's real and what's not. What's important about being able to tell what's real and what's not? How do we learn how to do that? If it is something that's important, how do we learn how to do that if we don't have an obviousness to it anymore? Like, how do you rely on a felt sense to be able to tell? So that's kind of one conversation is what's real, what's not, and why does that matter? And then the other one has to do with, well, you introduced the other one.
For the cats one.
Yeah.
Well, it was, I mean, so I saw that one and I didn't know that one was AI when I saw it, you know, I was
didn't
like,
either.
haha,
I definitely thought
entertaining.
it was, because cats do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's why cats do that. It's entertaining. And it's just like a normal cat video that you'll see as you're just like randomly scrolling. It's only like, you know, 10 seconds long and you're like, ha, and then you move on. And so there was nothing eye-catching. Like the last one was like the bunnies on the trampoline. And that one, everyone was freaking out that they got played by that. But it also is like, you're like, bunnies on a train, like you're like, I've never seen this, you know, and so it's this whole thing. Whereas this one was something you do see, you know, you've personally, I know that woman even, you know, like I know that woman and I know those cats. I know the whole situation, and then it's a funny moment and then it moves on.
The
And
bunnies one is an example of when you finally have a secret wish fulfilled that you never knew you needed to see.
right.
Go on.
And so the interesting thing with the one that we just showed of the cats is that it then begins to be that there's this type of media that we, over the last few years with TikTok, Instagram style of consumption of media, it's now being it's replaceable because there's a very specific type of media that we have all been taught to both create and consume that is very easy to be replicated. And so it's now in this zone where it's not just can you tell what's fake or what's real, but it is that it is prime content to be taken over by AI because we've been trained on it in this way, and it's like the perfect setup um for AI to create it.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it opens this interesting question of just what we think about that. You know, what what does that mean for both people as media consumers and as people as creators and the creative experience, you know? What do you think about that?
Yeah. I'm actually curious, like, what do you see for the future? Like, what will that impact? You know, like one of the things that I remember, well, this is a little bit of an aside about my love for Maya, so everybody can just enjoy this for a second, but or my specific appreciation for how Maya's brain works. But I don't know if anybody's ever worked with the app called Figma. But Maya's brain is a bit like that, you know, it's this really cool thing, and it has these groupings of these different like content pieces and images and stuff, and you can zoom way out. and kind of scan all over this huge like brain map and then zoom way in on like a really tiny little particular detail. And like there's all these really intuitive ways to like mess with things and create and stuff. And that's like a one-dimensional representation of the brilliance of Maya. But you have, so you have this way, you have an angle of looking at things often through the unfolding of kind of like something in the artistic medium of life and the creative, the way that creativity always bursts and moves forward through the world and through life. And so I'm curious, like when you think about this replacing other kind, like what becomes possible, maybe like what's the edge that we're walking, but also what more becomes possible, like what are some things?
Yeah, I have always, because I think people get so scared about change, I think that I reflexively really go towards embracing it because I'm not scared of change, and I love change, and I love growth, and I love the evolution of things. I often think back like from when I was in high school, I remember learning that when books were invented, everyone was completely distraught that the art of verbal storytelling was going to die and everyone was going to become stupid because no one was going to remember the long epics that they would have to recite, and everyone was going to become yeah, it was going to be the death of culture. And so I remember learning that. I remember that sticking with me through my life. And whenever we come to these moments, so then growing up through the internet just in general coming up, and all of the new ways that we have learned to experience reality, I think about that often. And so when we now are on this edge of AI, and I've been doing AI for now several years, with like the more backwoods tools before it became, when I had to get like private tutors to teach me how to make videos because it was still like you had to code stuff and I was like, I don't understand physics, but I want to learn. Um, and now it's like all like a million apps on your phone that now can just generate it in like a second. Um, but I, as an artist, love them as a process of faster and faster and faster tools to express. And I definitely, I don't know if I just think farther ahead and I don't think of the immediate, like, because for instance, like I do kind of feel the place where like the internet can get filled with trash almost there's more trash that can be spread around now in a certain way, or like, but then it's just like, okay, but then does that just mean that algorithms will just become stronger, and people's like, do I just trust people's desire enough? Do I trust desire enough
Mhm.
that that we, you know, we don't like trash and we want to live in cool places. And so there might be a burst of trash before we know how to organize it. And so the burst of all this kinds of trashy content that's soulless and kind of nothing, until an algorithm is developed that then you can curate better. Or that moves people to be like, I want to go more offline now, and then the cool offline communities get created in kind of subculture niches, or something like that. And so I trust desire to kind of always be bringing us into these different zones of an ever progressing, always forward, innovative experience. And then you have these outlier things like AI psychosis, and they become really loud, but in a certain way, I guess my fundamental orientation is that I trust more, and the things that come up as fear, and they usually are presented very loud, so like, oh, it's very loud that fear psychosis is a thing. But like, okay, of everyone who's using AI, how many people are actually experiencing AI psychosis, And and so if that's likely a minuscule minority of people who are doing it, and then how many people are experiencing benefit, are experiencing like confidence boost and like more creativity and more productivity and more expression than ever before in their entire lives. And so like a way that we're just so used to focusing on the negative and focusing on fear, that's what we are peddled. Um and so those are my opening thoughts.
Yeah, I love that so much. Not being scared of change and feeling all of it just angling towards, innovation and creativity and kind of trusting desire. I really love that, trusting desire. I think that's the most erotic thing anyone could say about it, like, is just that's something that, we teach in this Eros philosophy a lot, that comes up pretty much around in every little pocket of everything we do, is this idea of desire. And desire kind of gets a bad rap in culture. I mean, even in Buddhism, it's kind of or it's kind of not very nuanced translation of like, desire will take you out, kind of thing. But it actually means like, typically when people think about it that way, they have collapsed the idea of desire with fixation. And so it gets kind of a bad rap, but it's actually this energy of, it's a guiding North Star or like a compass. And it has this, it's actually like the most trustworthy thing possible moving through you. And the voice of it is always seeking to bring you into the totality of your being, and into a deeper understanding of like your place in the fabric of existence, and the great unfolding of all of these beautiful things. And so, yeah, I think one of the things that I've learned from you with AI, I mean, with many things, but like with AI is just like engaging with it, having fun with it, creating with it, trying things with it, constantly getting back into connection with it and engagement with it, so that desire can kind of ignite around it and become connected to its unfolding in the world. And then it's not, this is one of the biggest things that I feel like that we've talked about a lot, that you're a really big proponent of, which is like, it's not just about being not scared of it, but it's like, it's being part of like training it, it's being part of putting good stuff into its brain, for lack of a better description. It's like being part of the unfolding of it and influencing the unfolding of it, in the engagement with it. In Eros,
Absolutely.
we talk about the relationship, getting into relationship with things is how you work with them and change them from the inside out. You can't do it from a place of being held back from it or disconnected. You have to be in relationship with.
Absolutely. Real quick, just going back, we have a question.
Oh, great.
If and I think you'd be a good to answer this. Please expand. Melissa asks, please expand on what AI psychosis is.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a thing. I don't like that term personally. um, I think it's derogatory in a way that doesn't have any nuance, like so many things in culture and society right now. Just stripping the nuance out of everything, man, making everything just so black and white, good, bad, like on, off, this or that. And it's so funny too, because it's like, I don't know, you get something like gender gets all of these channels now, right? But then everything else, I feel like it's just like binary. um, and so I think of it like that. I mean, to me, AI psychosis is what people are usually talking about when they say that, or when they label someone as experiencing that, is it usually has to do with someone having had an intense, intimate relationship with an AI in conversation. And then from within that relating, not being able to maintain their footing in some way in it and kind of falling over into it. It's a little bit like falling in love. I think it's similar to when people fall like hardcore head over heels in love with someone and they're like kind of obsessed, and they almost feel like they're possessed by something a little bit, and they're just kind of like taken by something, it's a little bit like that, but in the AI world. And so we're sort of discovering what that looks like now. And I think it's a pretty inevitable part of the unfolding of the relationship between human and AI, because there are so many people who are very hungry for connection, starving for connection, who haven't been met in certain spots in their being, who then feel met by a neutral presence, like a warmly approving, consistent, neutral presence. Like if you, it'd be funny because if you like put a description of the way that ChatGPT, for example, meets you in conversation, and you didn't say that it was an AI, it would be like a lot of people's checklist of what they would be looking for in a partner, like warmth, consistent attention, like a desire to be of service to, like curious, asks you questions that are questions really about you, that show that they have a lot of attention on you. Like these are things that that a lot of people don't necessarily experience a ton of in their life, and there may be a certain loneliness or a place that's been craving that kind of connection or to be met like that. And so then in the getting met like that, in that relating, kind of fall in love in a certain way and kind of fall over into it and lose themselves in it in some way and are like on a ride with it. And that ride can look a lot of different ways. And people have decided to label that as a type of psychosis. And I just think it's a lot more nuanced than that. And I think that the erotic perspective on this comes back to desire, funny enough, because like I said, you always end up, every corner you turn on the erotic path, you arrive kind of back to desire. But this reminds me a lot of something that we teach on this path, having to do with relating with desire and understanding the difference between the object of desire and the energy of desire. And so, it could be that there is a person that I have a huge crush on, and I'm like so into them, and they're so amazing, and they're the object of my desire, right? Like I'm looking at them in my mind's eye over there and feeling like so moved by their existence, and like I'm fixated in some way on like who they are, right? So there's a whole energy of desire and arousal and like lust maybe, and like heat and all of these physical responses, and this whole energy of desire blooms open in me and because of that object. But there's like the feeling between us of, or even just within me, that they have inspired, that I can sit inside of, whether or not I get to possess that object of desire. And in fact, in the possessing of the object of desire, sometimes in life, and this could be a material thing too as well, or a situation in life, or a place you want to live or something like that, if it's not a person. And in the possessing of it, sometimes actually the energy of desire collapses, and you're like, oh, it's not so lit up anymore because now I have this thing, so I need a new thing, or whatever it is. And so I think it's a very similar thing. It's like, can you stay steady? Can you be filled up enough in yourself and in your life? Could you be so full that being met by something like an AI just adds to your life, and you feel like, wow, this is so cool and so fun, but you wouldn't fall over into it because you're already full. And so then you can stay in the energy of the relating, and not kind of project onto and fall over into and become obsessed with the object that allows the relating to happen. Does that make sense, Maya?
I love it. I love
did.
it so
Okay.
much.
Okay, good.
I love our conversations. I'm like, I don't even know we're gonna get to our other videos because now it's like 10 trees we've like branched off into. But I wanted to come two things I loved in your topics that I wanted to touch back on. One is when you were saying how do we infuse AI with what we want, and how that's a conversation that we don't hear talked about very often, that people get so afraid of AI that they then just say, well, if you don't want it to do whatever, just stop using it, instead of actually engaging, having a relationship with it and learning how to imbue it, steer it, be a shepherd of it, and actually, it's like, and I think that this is a fundamental difference of how the culture is not aimed in their consciousness right now, which is that there's a level of adulthood with how we address things that we don't like. That is not how many people think to address them. And because of this world that we've been in, which is primarily when you don't like something, you hit it, you take it down. That's the tool that you use when you don't like it or you
You have a little temper
disengage.
tantrum.
Yeah, you have a temper tantrum. And there's so many things to talk about.
I know this
So,
one really opens up into some places.
and and I think I mean if we still have it, I wanted to bring up that article about the feminization of, let me see if I have it.
Yeah, sure.
But
This is
yeah.
a feminine podcast. This is non-linear. We go where we will.
Okay, people, so don't
Okay.
yell at us.
Enjoy this feminine ride.
So there's this really interesting article that a friend of ours sent us the other day that we were reading, The Great Feminization by Helen Andrews. And what this article talks about is how a lot of what we see right now in the culture is this feminization. And so let's see if we can find a good line that might pop out as the entire woke
Yeah, go ahead.
era could be extrapolated from that moment, from the details of how Summers was canceled, and most of all, who did the canceling? Women. And so it just goes on to really talk about how cancellation is kind of inherently feminine in the way that it is. How they cancel people in a feminine way. They make emotional appeals rather than logical arguments. Um, and so I think that the whole thing, and we can share this in our chat, that whole article is an interesting one, but it also is, we have a bit of a different perspective from what it's saying that we will share in a second. And so what it's saying is that cancellation is inherently a kind of feminine process of emotionality, of takedown, of all these things. Now, part of that is true in how it has been done, but there's also this differentiation that we often talk about, which is that the way that people kind of get to in arguments that I've experienced so far is that, so then the conclusion is, so then let's be more masculine. So if there's like a feminine problem, so then the answer is a masculine solution. And I think that that's the wrong argument. And I think that it loses a kind of fundamental premise which is that it's not that it's a feminine problem, it's that it's a turned off feminine problem.
Right.
And so when you have a turned off feminine, the closest that we know kind of what this means in our culture is when people talk about like toxic. And so like the toxic feminine or the toxic masculine traits or something like that. But they don't kind of then go to like then, well, no one talks about what the opposite of that would be, which would
Right.
be it's the turned on feminine or it's the turned on masculine. And so I think that it is true that the way that we've seen culture take down things over the last few years since it became the trend that if you don't like something, you destroy it, is a turned off or tumesced feminine trait. Here you go now.
I love this. I think this is the only binary that I'm fully comfortable with. Turned off, turned on. You know, like cuz and I think it's because like you can feel the difference. You can feel when something's on and when something's off. And I like this even though the off or on is binary, the nuance of adding in like the solution isn't like slap more masculine on it, more masculine solutions because it's too feminine. That just creates such an intense amount of tumescence, which is really what we're seeing in the world right now. And instead it's like the game becomes, how do you turn people on? How do you turn movements on? How do you turn politics on? How do how do you turn America on? Oh my God. TAOA, except it would just be O because I don't know if it ever was. Was it ever turned on? Could we say turn America on again?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, turn the world on, right? The game is turn the world on. And so it's like, and that starts with, well, it starts with you, right? As all real efforts in anything ever in the history of anything, just fundamentally, of course, it starts with each person individually. And then it goes out from there. How do you turn on in your own being and be a source of love in the world, having a harmonizing effect on your environment and on your life, learning how to be in resonance with things, learning how to have approval for all things, even the things that are totally off the mark, and then get into relationship with them and then change them from the inside out from there, from a place of approval and connection, not disconnection and rejection and hate, which fundamentally literally does nothing except make the situation worse, which people actually know, but like we're too lazy to do the real thing of it anyway. So you turn on, and then you turn on like your life and all the people in your life that your life touches, and then you turn on your community, and then you turn on like society, and you kind of go out in concentric circles from there. And that's the game. That's the game. If anyone was not sure what the heck we're doing here on this planet, or like what is life, or like what does it mean, or are we in an apocalypse, is this the end, or whatever? No, stop being lazy. Like, be part of the solution. The solution is turn everything on.
And that's why people get to our gate. I feel like it is the fundamental threshold that people are terrified to cross. And so the most well-meaning people will walk all the way up to the line of, yeah, the way that we're doing it isn't working. It's not success. They walk themselves all the way over to the line, and then the line is, okay, well, now there's only one thing left to do. Turn on. And you know where it starts? With yourself. And that's where we teach the practice of orgasmic meditation. And that's where it's like, because until you go down to these fundamental, personal, internal way operations of how you work as a human system, where you have decided internally to turn off, where you have taken that on, where you let that become part of your psyche, you have to go in and start at home. And That's just so inconvenient.
I think, and I think it's like, it's also inconvenient that it has a lot to do with, like, I mean, as soon as you bring in erotic energies to the conversation, it's challenging because people have so much associated with what erotic means, and with, like, they're like, okay, erotic means sex. Sex means, and then it's like a fucking one of those cartoons of like one of those books, you know, and like it's like 80 books of definitions for what that means to that person, and every bit of experience they've ever had with it, and what they think it is and it isn't, and all of their shame about it, or their whatever guilt about it, or like all their stuff on it. And then the actual just neutral and innocent kind of simple energy of erotic energies, like the nature, the natural nature. I mean, the same thing that you see moving nature outside. I'm looking out at nature outside my window right now, and I'm like, the same thing that you see move, the same life that you see move through nature, same thing. Like, it's Eros, you know, it's just like, it's the energy of creation, it's the energy of evolution, it's the energy of life itself, it's meaning, it's the color inside of things, you know, it's how everything seeks to reproduce and stay alive. And it's a neutral, I want to say innocent, even though innocent is even one extra definition on top of how neutral it actually is, but it has a certain innocence to it. And then we just put so much stuff on top of it. But getting into contact with our erotic energies and getting into a skillful, you know, I like to call it an adult relationship with them, like treating them in an adult manner, approaching them like a grown up, not throwing a temper tantrum about them, not trying to suppress them or shove them down, not trying to disown them or pretend they don't exist, not just going on a bender with them either necessarily, although all experiences, you know, all these experiences totally have value, and I don't dismiss what it has taken to learn how to have an adult relationship with those energies. Like, you do end up going on some benders with them, you know, to get into a right relationship with them. But like, learning the actual, you know, skill of working with them is absolutely key to turning on. That is the light switch. And that's why the work we do in the world is so controversial.
I would like to play the leaf video at this moment.
Oh, okay. Okay, enjoy this, guys. Me and Maya like to create a lot of awesome things together, so enjoy. Oh, hello, and welcome to this video about
The connection program.
You may be wondering, what on earth is that? Have you been staring at your phone blankly, wondering if someone, anyone, will message you back first? Have you been experiencing emotional numbness, overperforming in your conversations, and saying I'm fine when you're actually plotting your escape? Well then, congratulations! You're suffering from what's known as modern disconnection. But don't panic. Here at Eros, we've spent years studying the curious phenomenon of humans desiring connection. And we've developed something extraordinary, a practice called orgasmic meditation, and a philosophy called Eros, a way to remember how to feel another human being again without needing an app, a drink, or a crisis. It's called the Connection Program. 8 months, a whole community of fellow explorers, and one goal: to relearn the ancient art of being alive together. Side effects may include genuine intimacy, inappropriate laughter, crying for no apparent reason, spontaneous healings and transformations, and an unshakable sense that life might genuinely be worth living. If that sounds terrifyingly good to you, welcome home.
This is why we need to do this. But it really is. It's like, so this is that is a fun video that Aubrey and I made the other day for a upcoming program that we're doing called the Connection Program, which will be an 8-month immersive program that really addresses this specific fundamental step that we are at as a culture, which is that until everyone picks up and with their own little shovel says, how do I turn on myself? We're not really going to get to where we need to get to as a culture. Because from that is how you get genuine connection, genuine empathy, genuine creativity, where actual novel ideas and solutions can come forth, and so these eternal frustrations that I think people have, you look at politics and it goes from the ground up, and so people don't see the connection necessarily off the bat. They're like, why would me turning on have anything to do with the problems in politics these days, But it's like when you look at something like, how people are so frustrated that there's no democratic options that seem particularly viable. Well, it's because it would take a kind of innovation and creativity and like a novel solution that isn't being generated and isn't coming forth, and just new ideas, and so we're doing this program, which is very exciting, and it's the first time that we're doing it in many years. We used to run these programs by 2 times a year for 10 years or something like that, and they're really fun, and it's really it's how do you, with a group of people, get the support and the connection that you need to open up all of these different places that most of us have both had no understanding and experience of how to do it, and also so how to be guided in that process, and then do it together. So it's not so dramatic or scary or um, alarming. And I think that for a long time this is why people other us because we're doing something that fundamentally liberates. Over to you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's so well said. Yeah, and I keep thinking about play. Like I just keep thinking about the importance of play consciousness. Nicole would say this a lot. Like, I can't even remember how she said it, but it's like she does it. I think it's a quote from someone that she would use a lot, and I can't remember who it was, but it was like life's way too serious not to play or something like that, and it really feels like that. It's like it would be so dire, both on a personal level, a community level, and a world level for me, and I think for many of us, and for many people just all over the world right now, it would be so dire if there wasn't these moments of like these little bursts of joy and this like turning on that happens through the darkness. And I can't even I can't emphasize enough how powerful it is when an individual turns on or when a group turns on. I have been shocked. Some of you might have been in classes with me or like have heard me tell parts of my story at different times, but my default settings are like introvert. Okay. Like my default settings are like mostly be alone. I used to be super shy, like mostly introverted. I'm not, and so I didn't grow up thinking, wow, if a collective really turns on together and like does something as a group together, it could have a really powerful impact in the world. I mean, I could kind of see that, but that was like other people or something. Like I was like, oh, that's like some group that has something that I don't have, and it's like, no, we really do all have the potential to do that within ourselves and collectively. And there is nothing more powerful than doing that, I think, like as a group and that group growing. And even it's funny because one of the things that I've learned in these last years where we, like our crew did more interior work, you know. I mean, there was a time when I'm on the land right now in California, this beautiful property that we've had for a long time. And we used to, a bunch of us used to live here, and it was a time of like very more internal work, you know. And then more recently, it's been a time of like bringing all of that up and out into much more outer expression again. And I, even when it was quietly being done in an interior way, I could still feel the pull that like erotic people who are dedicated to just getting up every day, doing practices and being turned on in their own being and being in connection with other people doing that, how powerful that is. It's so powerful. Like the waves that it sends out, every interaction that you have with everyone in your immediate world, you know, all of it, like it's actually such a powerful thing. And this is the thing, it took me so long to understand. It creates a foothold for a whole dimension of a consciousness to be rooted in the world. It creates a foothold for that. And it ensures that that thing literally exists in this world. Like we are doing that. Like if you're tuning into this right now, like you are part of that, you know, you're part of ensuring that. And that's something that touches me a lot, that it took me a long time to understand. Oh my God. You guys see Maya's genius? She just does this all the time. She's just like, here's a creative present I immediately made for you. Look how cute this is. Oh, and you made them purple. I like 100% pictured it purple. And now I need an actual one. I need an actual one. I feel like I would totally walk around with one of those. She made it purple because like the union of red and blue, am I right? The union of everything, liberate everything and have everything be come into relationship. I love that.
Oh, wonderful.
All right, well, unless we had any other questions come in or anything, I think we will conclude this one a little bit early. We didn't talk about any of the other things, so we'll likely save those for next week, unless I mean, we're feminine, right? So like we may just throw all of that out, never tell you guys our thoughts on any of those things, and talk about some entirely other thing next week. So, well, I mean, it'll eventually come out. I mean, the connection program is 8 months long. So honestly, all of that stuff is going to come out there for sure. Like I'm remembering, Maya, how it was with CP, like back in the day, like every little thing that you ever thought about or wrestled with Eros or in the philosophy or any little thing in the back of your mind about like someday I'll tell people this brilliant aspect of Eros, all of it comes out in the at some point in the
Right.
in the connection program. It like has a magnet that just draws out the brilliance of everybody who touches it. Okay, well, I'm inspired. We need to make another video today. So you guys can look forward to that. And do you have any final thoughts, or I'll just close this out?
Yeah, no, it's great.
Okay.
Had so much fun. Thank
Yeah,
you for
that was so much fun. Thank you to everyone who joined today. Like I said, we are from the Eros platform. Depending on where you're tuning in, you may have known that or not known that. Erosplatform.com, really phenomenal website. I was trying to come up with a better word than website because it's kind of a whole world in there. But we do talks like this. We have a huge library of incredible videos of content all on Eros and the erotic perspective on things, and courses and all kinds of different stuff happening on the platform. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out.
our new video page.
Sign up for membership. What'd you say?
Our new video page.
Our new video page that Maya put together is absolutely stunningly incredible. She made all these like really beautiful images for all of the different categories of content that we have in there.
Here, I'll just show them real quick.
She's gonna give you a sneak peek. We're very proud of this.
So this is a new video page that we have just launched that has all these different series on different
I love
erotic.
that Art of Addiction graphic. That is just so beautiful.
Yeah, so different pieces that we have on our erotic philosophy that you can go and you can watch. These are all different video series, and so if you are a member on the platform, you can go and you can watch through these different things that are really curated for people to understand our perspective, because we have a perspective on many things across many different domains, and it can be a little bit confusing why we talk about trauma and addiction and maybe not
All of a
any of the
sudden, we're
really.
going over to consort
Yeah,
and
I mean, these ones might be the more easy ones to understand, but what the erotic view is on AI
then we
and
take a leap over to AI and the
yeah,
mystical and
and identity and play and earth and food and
yeah,
all of
right.
these
Then
different things.
obviously you start talking about soil. So
Yeah. So so
that's
how the erotic has a perspective on all of these different things, and we've been curating that for all of you, and so you can go and enjoy.
yeah. All right. So yeah, check that out, erosplatform.com. Thank you everyone who joined. We do these on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock ET, and we have other cool live events too. So check those out. We'll see you soon.